Hello everyone, I'm incredibly grateful to be here. I'm a lived experience person of binge eating disorder from Eastern Europe, and researchers focused on primary care and closing the gap between primary and secondary care. The prevalence of binge eating disorder and bulimia is quite high. Half of those with eating disorders have binge eating disorder and bulimia. These conditions are often presenting in so-called normal BMI or overweight bodies. 13 years after binge eating disorder being recognised as a standalone diagnosis, we still have limited understanding of it, and people are often seen as someone with a lack of willpower. Primary care, the main place where people go and seek help, is not doing that great either with recognising and managing these conditions. We know there are 4 interconnected factors influencing these identifications and managements of these conditions. Knowledge and understanding of patients, healthcare professionals, as well as the public. The healthcare professionals and patient interactions, how people interact together about these conditions. The attitudes and emotions towards binge eating disorder and bulimia and the healthcare system overall. And lastly and most importantly, the limited access, existence and availability of treatment and referral pathways. But what does it look like in practice? Recently, my team published a national survey where we looked at what is actually happening in practice and not what's being said that it's being done in practice. Here are some facts for you. People with bulimia were 4 times more likely to get a clinical diagnosis than someone with binge eating disorder. Most healthcare professionals did not screen actively for these conditions. And when they did, they were using a tool that is not accurate for binge eating disorder. Which meant binge eating disorder is the one that's being ignored completely. When it came to management, although healthcare professionals were referring people with binge eating disorder and bulimia to eating disorder services, almost half of those services in this country do not offer treatment for binge eating disorder and people with bulimia who have so-called normal or overweight BMI. This leads to people use self-help as a way to manage their conditions, which is unacceptable. Binge eating disorder and bulimia is not about willpower. It is about appropriate and accessible care. So what can we do about it? There are 4 main things that we co-designed with healthcare professionals and patients. Number 1 is the need for binge eating disorder and bulimia specific educations for healthcare professionals, patients, families and overall the public to really recognise that these eating disorders, that are the majority of eating disorders, are not being recognised. We need development of a brief and primary care appropriate screening to end pathways for not just binge eating disorder but all eating disorders, as most tools are still primarily used and tested in secondary care. Hence, primary care professionals, who are the one who are the bottleneck to eating disorder services, are not using them or don't know how to use them. Next is developing a clear, efficient and patient-centered referral treatment pathway, including improving communication between primary and secondary care and offering a wider range of management options, especially for binge eating disorder. And lastly and most importantly, co-designing specific national guidelines to support consistent care that goes from primary care, from prevention, up to recovery and secondary care. We need more voices of binge eating disorder and bulimia in our community, in research and in policy. A voice that is not dependent on obesity, but it's heard and acknowledged for what it is. An eating disorder. Oh, sorry. The community that we have here and all across the UK is wonderful. And I truly believe if we unite and we work together, we will be able to bring change into eating disorder care across the UK.
Well done. Again, another amazing story, and thank you for sharing it, and thank you for the research too as well. I'm guessing it's you two.
Award-winning writer-director for film and television. I'm the co-founder of TikTok recovery account Play Brave and a partner of the United Nations Population Fund. My previous short film, The Woman in the Wardrobe, partnered with the UN to raise money for emergency birthing kits to be sent out to women in conflict and humanitarian crisis. My current film project, The Last Pancake, is a magical realist drama about Amanda, played by Margie, who ventures to the Last Pancake Cafe and begins to awaken her long-suppressed appetite. It's a very personal story. Today is very auspicious because it is exactly 1 year to the day that I began my eating disorder recovery. It's so wonderfully strange and magical that it is the 18th of April, the day that this is taking place. It feels unbelievable to be standing up here speaking and campaigning for awareness within a disease which thrives and feeds on silence and shame. I never ever thought that I'd be strong enough to do anything like this. I looked in the mirror upon deciding it was time to let go of my destructive behaviours and said, this better be worth it. And my God, it really is, in many more ways than I thought were even possible. I developed anorexia when I was in my early 20s after having grown up as a dancer and moving to France to pursue a career as an actor. Restriction became a way to control my overwhelming emotions, anxiety, and homesickness. I found power in instant results that I received, but very quickly the disease swallowed me whole and I became incredibly sick. I continued to live with the addiction for another 8 years. The spell was broken on the 18th of April in 2025, followed by a very confusing process of reclaiming my connection, I've lost my place. Reclaiming my connection with my body, ownership over my mind, and renewed vigour in my purpose. Over the last 365 days, I've redirected my energy that I've been spending on restriction into rebuilding my life. Now, in this moment, I am standing in the abundance of what I have created and what so many people have supported me to do. There is a rich existence sitting on the other side of anorexia. It has filled me with a burning passion to help other people overcome this illness. Margie and I met in New York last September, and I spoke to her about a script I'd written about recovery and reconnecting with feminine appetite. I offered her the main role on the spot because of her passion and her own lived experience. We theoretically dreamed about filming it in the new year while simultaneously launching a community hub for recovery and standing on stages together speaking about our experience. That fantasy is progressively becoming our reality, and I feel like the world has really shown me that it really was worth it. I worked with Any Other Productions, Ethan McDowell, and filmed The Last Pancake completely randomly on Shrove Tuesday 2026. As we get closer and closer to its release, I realise more and more that it is time to bite back and share stories of food freedom. Cinema is the perfect art form, and I'm very biased in that opinion, but it is the perfect art form to carry this hopeful, heartfelt and human message. I envision using our film as a powerful social advocacy tool, a talking point to share strength and hope so that we can build a collective community and learn to love our lives on the other side of disordered eating. Margie and I and everyone here today are really proof that recovery is possible. When Elizabeth I rallied her troops at the Battle of Tilbury in 1588, she declared that she had the heart and the stomach of a king. This quote has sat in my head rent-free every single day for the past year. And I promise to continue to speak openly about the deadly effects of this illness and use my voice to help cultivate community, resources, education and hope, all with the heart and the stomach of a king. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Marguerite Barbieri. I'm an actor, dancer, filmmaker, and like Ruby, I'm a survivor of anorexia. Eating disorders are incredibly persuasive. They convince you they are protecting you when really they're isolating you. Anorexia is a mental illness with the highest mortality rate, and yet it's still so often misunderstood. That's why spaces like this and conversations like this matter so much. Eating disorders thrive in silence and in shame, and for a long time I didn't believe there was a life beyond that. Yet recovery gifted me a life greater than I ever imagined. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for stories. As filmmakers, we live by them. Not just fictional ones like my burning love for Avatar: The Last Airbender and the story of Zuko, whose bravery built a hero inside of me, but also real life stories about other people getting better, which helped me believe that I could too. That's why I understand how important my story is, because I was once the person who needed to hear it. That recovery is not just possible, but that life can become magical, and that you can love yourself again. In 2025, Medical Research Foundation states 20 to 40% of people with anorexia nervosa have been found to be autistic. That's 1 in 3. I developed anorexia at 13, and it wasn't until I experienced neurodivergent therapy that my world really began to change. That statistic doesn't speak for everyone, but it highlights something important. That treatment needs to reflect the different kinds of minds it's supporting. It's something I deeply care about and something I'm now exploring through storytelling. Of course. And thank you to Hope Virgo and Dump the Scales for continuing to shine a light on the connection between eating disorders and autism. I was anorexic for 7 years, and now 7 years recovered. Standing here feels like the flight of a butterfly. Recovery didn't just give me my life back, it gave me purpose. When Ruby shared the last pancake with me, it felt like the universe gave me a hug. The hug that says the recovery just keeps getting better. And also one that whispered that I have found my best friend. Alongside the film, we built something else. A community called Play Brave, which is a space where recovery is messy, curious, open, creative, and held in the support of those that get it. We believe an element of recovery is connection, and that's why at Play Brave we're encouraging it. And to anyone here who is struggling or has struggled, you are not alone. You are seen and we are here. Recovery is so worth it. My heartbeat knows it, my brain is so thankful for it, and the love in my life solely exists because of it. I'm not isolated inside an illness anymore. I'm here and I'm awesome. Thank you.